Every athlete enters a competition with the knowledge that there could be a surprise ending, but each hopes that he has the ability to write that ending in his own way. For 7-Eleven's Davis Finney, the end came 1 week earlier than planned. In Saturday's early morning hours, Finney packed his gear before heading home to Boulder, Colorado. Thursday was his last day of racing.
I've never, ever felt that bad in a bike race in my whole life.
Finney, the first 7-Eleven stage winner ever, and again the first this year, was the motivational leader of this team and really just wanted to finish the Tour de France.
You know, this race is very, very unforgiving, and I picked up a virus, and 36 hours without food. I struggled through one race, I don't know, 130 miles, and it was probably one of the worst days of my life. And I thought that maybe I could get over it, but it was just one day too many to the rest day, and yesterday I couldn't even get out of bed.
Finney's departure followed those of Bob Roll and Jeff Bradley, and is the most serious blow yet to a team that had been gathering momentum throughout the race. But for the second year in a row, Davis Finney must kiss off his chance of finishing the Tour de France. But the final stories of this year's Tour de France have yet to be told, and the ominous face of Mont Ventoux, where today the fate of the Tour might be decided, also brings back memories of a tragic tour 2 decades ago. Here's Phil Liggett.
20 years ago, the Tour de France wrote one of its saddest chapters of its history. The great British cyclist Tommy Simpson died here on Mont Ventoux in the heat of the Provence summer. This is a barren mountain. Normally it's covered in snow throughout 7 months of the year. But at this particular time when Tommy died, there was a reflected heat of 150 degrees. Simpson was a kilometre from the top of the mountain when he was seen to zigzag across the road. Then, as he fell off his bike, the helpers came up and he said, "Put me back on my bike," and they did so. Within yards, Simpson fell again, and this time he died. Tommy Simpson was the greatest British cyclist ever. He's still the only British rider ever to have worn that leader's yellow jersey. The Tour de France will remember him forever. This year, Mont Ventoux is back in the race for the first time since 1974 for a time trial. It'll be a crucial part of the Tour, and it should write another chapter of this amazing race's history. And this is Mont Ventoux today, the unhospitable mountain waiting for the early arrivals in today's 23 miles time trial that is certain to provide a major turning point of the Tour. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Its wide, sweeping turns and high banks make it one of the world's fastest speedways. The Alabama International, site of the Talladega 500, next Sunday on CBS Sports.
Dawn came over the flatlands of Provence in southern France today, and in the distance, the mountain that is to play a crucial part in this year's Tour de France. The moonscape surface of the 6,200 feet climb of Mont Ventoux. At the top, everything is ready for the torture chamber of the Tour de France this day. In the start house, the American rider Andy Hampsten. He comes here 7th overall in the Tour de France. He must excel this day if he is to go into the final week a contender for victory.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop!
So Andy Hampsten has made his bid. Starting in the town of Carpentras, he now faces 23 miles of sheer purgatory. A time trial, man against the watch, man against himself. Herrera, 7 minutes 50 seconds behind the leader today. Andy Hampsten already up the road, starting 3 minutes ahead of him. But the great little climber, Luis Herrera of Colombia, he's claimed back 7 minutes in this last week of the Tour de France. Now he's on his favourite roads. Raul Alcala, another man who's shown so well in the mountains, waits for his start. Out in Carpentras now, on the way towards Mont Ventoux, Hampsten makes his progress. While behind, it's Luis Herrera who chases him. Inch by inch, he closes in. Back in the start house, Stephen Roche, third overall this morning, thinking of the yellow jersey. And already beginning to show signs of faltering today, Hampsten begins to suffer. And the same applies to Raul Alcala, the little Mexican. France's hope lies with Jean-Francois Bernard, second from last to start today, in the heat of the day down in Carpentras. He dreams too of yellow. Stephen Roche, already up the road ahead of him, begins the lower slopes of Mont Ventoux. And there, Mont Ventoux awaits its barren countryside looking down on the valley below, where this drama is now being enacted. And Andy Hampsten is showing the pain of carrying the pressures of trying to win the Tour de France for the United States. Little Colombian climber Lucho Herrera gets into his rhythm well today. He's shown it in the Pyrenees. He's now shown he has tremendous form. He inches closer and closer to Andy Hampsten. Hampsten visibly riding slower now, broken clear of the tree line of the climb. Lower down, but not much further behind, is Herrera. And then Herrera has Hampsten in his sights. And the gap is closed shut. 3 minutes made by Luis Herrera at a most crucial stage of the Tour. And Raul Alcala too, set to lose now 9 minutes this day, and his Tour de France for victory is over. The moment of truth for Andy Hampsten. He's caught and passed. He looks across at Lucho Herrera. What must he feel like now as he falls 3 minutes behind on time? For the Dublin rider, Stephen Roche, there's still plenty of hope. He's riding within himself on the barren slopes of Mont Ventoux in the heat of mid-afternoon sun. But for Andy Hampsten now, climbing towards the summit, over 3 minutes lost to Herrera, he must ask himself now if his Tour de France is over. Herrera reaches the top of the mountain, and his time, 1 hour, 21 minutes, 23 seconds, is the best so far. Lower down, Hampsten even has to give way to the team cars. But through the corridor of crowd now, the crowd cheers Stephen Roche. He's married to a French girl, and they cheer him all the way up. But there are no such cheers for Andy Hampsten. His time is 4.5 minutes slower than Herrera's. And coming up the mountain, Jean-Francois Bernard, near the back to start, was the best time through all of the checkpoints. All of France were cheering now, a man who could take yellow. At the summit of the climb, Stephen Roche finishes with the excellent time of 1 hour, 22 minutes and 3 seconds. He's still in contention. And the last few yards now for Jean-Francois Bernard, the man they used to compare with Bernard Hinault, and he said they were all too soon. He wasn't ready yet. So Bernard came up to the finishing line here on Mont Ventoux at 4 o'clock this afternoon to win the 18th stage of the Tour de France and take the overall lead. But for Andy Hampsten of America, he sat in his car and reflected on what might have been, because this day he seems to have lost the Tour de France. And after 5 days in the yellow jersey, Charlie Motte finishes 9th this day and loses his yellow jersey to Jean-Francois Bernard. And so the standings tonight on this special day in the Tour de France. Bernard leads with a winning time of 1:19.44, and the overall lead also passes to Bernard. Roche now in second place, Motte falls to third. And of the rest, Hampsten goes back to 9th and Raoul Alcala down to 11th. And so with a week to go, the Tour de France has its new leader, Jean-Francois Bernard. From the top of Mont Ventoux, it's goodbye.
In Saint-Tropez, and you're looking at the world-famous Carousel of Saint-Tropez, just outside this newly constructed stadium for tonight's championship fight on this beautiful summer evening. And you're looking inside the stadium now as it's constructed, and we're sitting in the so-called champagne section. We haven't seen any of the bubbly yet. But
that does it for today's adventure. If you're new here, please subscribe. Take it one step further and ring that notification bell. And if you enjoyed today's video, please give it a big old like and a thumbs up. It lets me know you care. I'll see you in the next video. Ride on.